These people are the enemy, not the person stabbing up people on trains. It's the people that allow them to stab up people on trains. People being stabbed on a train in Huntingdon in Cambridgeshire is not the problem. Now, stick with me, guys, because I know you're like, of course it is, Tim. It's a massive problem. It's not. There's a deeper, it's a symptom of the problem. Absolutely, 100%. Don't get me wrong. Look, I want to read you something that kind of explains what it is, what the real issue is. And I've literally written down a tweet here that I read this morning. I want to read it out to you. It's all to do with suicidal empathy or pathological altruism, and it comes from what we would call the left or the liberals. And these might be young people, but they might be really old people. Now, one of these people, of course, is one of my sisters, is one of these people who works within the public sector. This is to do with the feminization as well of industries. Now, you may have heard that before. If you think about what woke was, very compassionate, very agreeable, very caring, that came out of the traits from women. When women went into these industries en masse, they became into HR, into leadership positions, they became very woke, didn't they? That's what woke was. And in doing that, see, if men had been involved, they would have just said, no, these are the boundaries, mate. Okay, that's what work is. It's called work for a reason. Don't bring your politics into this. But of course, my sister, in her job, in NHS, would wear a Palestine badge, even though she's in contact with Jewish people. And I've spoken about this before. So these people who are very left-leaning, for example, these are the problem, and we have to be able to get through to them. I'm going to show you a tweet right now. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And the tweet comes from a guy called Harry Eccles, who's also in the NHS. Of course he's in the NHS. He's got his ponytail on him, isn't he? And all that kind of stuff. And the tweet says, and I'll read it to you in case you're in the car. It says, if you constantly tweet about crimes committed by immigrants or people of colour and never tweet about crimes committed by white British people, then you are racist. Now, they're going to call you a racist. They're going to call you a fascist. I get emails every day. I get DMs. I get all that kind of stuff saying, Tim, you're homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, racist. I've probably missed loads out. And I put my hand up and I just say, yeah, I am. What you can do about it, mate? I'm 230 pounds. I'm angry most of the time. It's not like a threat. I'm just saying, when you take the wind out of their sails, they've got nothing else. It's like, oh, they call me fascist as well. They don't even know what fascist means. They can't even spell it. But it doesn't matter what they're calling you. They're just calling you something. Now, what Jim does here, there's a guy called Jim Chiri on Twitter. He replied to that tweet I just said. I'll put the tweet on screen here as I read it out to you. But I've read it several times, and it's a very interesting tweet because he goes into it's what I keep saying about cowardly behavior. These feminized men and feminized women, of course, but feminized men. I know some very, 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 very tough women, by the way. And I know some very, very weak men like that Harry guy is. What Jim says, that line, Harry, is a perfect example of how language is now used to shut down truth. That's what the left do, isn't it? They call you racist and fascist so you don't talk anymore because, unlike me, most people are worried about being like exposed. Yeah, I have my own businesses. So and I do my own coaching and stuff like this with men about gravitas, presence, integrity, discipline, honor. So when I coach men on that, they realize they haven't got to be anonymous in this world. They can stand by their values as long as they speak fairly about them. So what Harry will try and do is shut you down. He'll just try and shut you down, all right? That's what he's trying to do. And he used language to do that. You start not with fact, but with accusation. All right, so he's not starting with fact in that tweet back. You equate observation with hatred and motive with colour. It's the oldest trick of the modern left. Redefine moral inquiry as moral guilt. This is really interesting. No one denies that crime exists among the British born. It always will, always has, all that kind of stuff. The difference is when citizens commit crime, the state has not imported the risk. I've said this before. We've got enough crime in here without having to import it. When foreign nationals commit crimes after being waved through the border or shielded by the immigration system, and we'll talk a little bit about why we're bringing all these immigrants in later, which is fascinating, by the way. That's not random violence. It's the direct result of policy. Home Office policy, governmental policy, conservative policy over the last 12 years, guys, and Labour over the last couple as well. The outrage is not racial, it's a civic outrage. This is very important. So a murder by a British criminal is a tragedy, obviously. A murder by someone who should never have been here in the first place. Think about if your wife or your girlfriend was killed by someone who should never have been in the country in the first place, mate. Like legally even. Or even if they are legal, they're only legal because the government wanted to put them in the immigration system and make them a British national for a reason, which we're going to cover in a minute. The distinction matters not because of race, but because of responsibility. The first is a failure of law enforcement. The second is a failure of the government. Now, the government is not on your side. It will not protect you. And the thing about government, guys, we give up our civic responsibilities. We say, all right, we'll limit the amount of freedom we have. And in return, the government says, and we'll protect you. That's the truth. But that's not happening. The second, i.e. the failure of government, is what exposes the deeper rot, a ruling class that values its own virtue signal more than its people's safety. Guys like Harry, or my sister, or your elderly parents that believe immigration is a good thing. In fact, I was chatting to my uncle the other day down in Oxford, lovely man. He's a kingmaker. I say to him, you're a kingmaker, you make kings. I want to be a king. I want to be able to help other men be better for their families. I want them to stand up and do the hard things whilst they're still alive, whilst they've got the opportunity to do it. Whether you want to invest in anything I talk about fitness, family, finance, fuel and faith. And I've got a book coming out about that. Don't worry about it. All right. It's a cheap book. It will help you just understand where I'm coming from. I want people to be there better for their families and their presence to be more meaningful in the world as men. Right. And I said to my uncle, I want, you're a kingmaker. But he says, when I said to him, do not worry about the white British person, the white English becoming a minority within the country, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. He says, no, I'll be happy if it was fully mixed. I'm like, but then you'd be happy if the white were in a minority. He said, yes. In fact, my mum said that until I had to say to my mum, why should we be a minority? Because right now we favour the minorities under the European law, ECHR, whatever it might be. The minorities that come in are seen as the people that we have to favour. They're seen as the people that require special treatment. All right, the minorities are seen like that. You accuse those, this is important now. This is important. You accuse those who document migrant crime as racism because it's easier than facing the truth. I say this to so many people and they just shut me down. They're like, oh, Tim, I'm not interested in what you have to say. It's like, but you're not an honest person who places integrity above all else you would be saying the same things I'm saying. Right, I'll read that again. You accuse those who document migrant crime of racism because it's easier than facing the truth. It's easier to say you're a racist. It's like, hang on, people just got stabbed up on a train, mate. I don't care if it was a black guy or white guy, I'd still be saying we're not safe, right? You call it compassion. It has delivered chaos. You call it inclusion. It has destroyed trust. You claim to fight prejudice, yet your doctrine has imported a very intolerance you pretend to oppose. He writes very well, all right? Writes very well. The point of speaking about these crimes isn't to smear a race. It is to demand accountability for the decisions that made them possible. That's the truth. The state opened the gate, ignored the warnings, and now ordinary Britons are paying the price. That's not prejudice. That's patriotism. The belief that a government's first duty is to protect its own citizens. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And it's not doing that. Silence in the face of a preventable death isn't decency, it's cowardice. And I'm saying exactly that as well. It is cowardice. And the word you use to silence dissent, racist, has become the shield of the guilty. The guilty use that word. That's the important thing we have to remember. These people are the enemy, not the person stabbing up people on trains. It's the people that allow them to stab up people on trains. That's what I'm talking about. These are the people. This is the left liberal who is allowing this country to fall. And we can do something about it, by the way, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. Right, Britain needs truth, not taboos. When the cost of your ideology is measured in lives, the moral crime isn't speaking out, it's staying quiet. It's staying quiet, guys, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why as men now, what I'm appealing to you to do is to speak out. Because it could have been your wife on that train. It could have been your child, mate. In fact, there was a story by one of the boys on the train there, a young boy called Ollie. And people going, don't post it, mate, don't post it, don't post it. Don't. And he's posting, he's saying, I was on that train. I was on the train, he was saying. And I saw what happened. And it was madness. And he was saying that there was blood all on the back of on the seats. He was saying people were holding their stomachs, blood was coming out, they're asking for help, they're saying, I've been stabbed. He was saying they all moved into one of the carriages and they're there, hoping that that knifeman didn't come through the door. And you've got to ask yourself, what would you have done, mate? As a man in this society, would you have cowered with those people? Or would you have gone, you in, back up and step up? Yeah, get some backup and then step up. We have to. I'm 50. I'm actually 51. I'll be 52 next year. Whatever. If I had to go and die to protect someone's young girl, I'll do it, mate. And it's going to suck. I'm going to get stabbed the fuck up. I don't want to swear on my channel. I'm really sorry. There was a Christian woman that told me not to do that. I'm really sorry. But, you know, rather me get stabbed up than that young girl, right? I've had a reasonable life. I'm lucky, you know what I mean? I'm a blessed man, yeah? Listen, so the Home Secretary and the Defence Secretary are both saying it's best not to talk about it. Don't speculate. It's like, no, we will. I'm not allowing a Muslim to tell me what to do in this nation. And I have got a problem with Islam. It has no place in the UK. The Defence Secretary is a good man, though, all right? So John Healey, good man. But don't tell us what to do. We will speculate because you've let us down. You've broken the contract. As we've said, you've broken the contract. You cannot keep us safe. Walk a dog, get stabbed. Ride a train, get stabbed. Go to school, get stabbed. Go to a Taylor Swift dance party, get stabbed. The government is at fault here, and they are being allowed to be empowered by these weak, liberal, left people. This is how civil war starts. We've got to be mature about it, guys. You know what I'm going to say in a minute? I'm going to say something to you in a minute, and you're going to nod and go, yeah, you're right, Tim, all right? So why are we bringing back immigrants then? I'm going to leave this. I don't want to go over 15 minutes. We're bringing back immigrants to boost the GDP, and because it gets the incumbent party votes. That's what the Tories did. It was much easier after 2020, after the COVID thing, as opposed to upskilling the workforce, which you should be doing for yourself, by the way. Upskill yourself. It's really important as AI comes in to upskill yourself in something that AI can't really play too much of a part in, whether it's a skill, a labour skill especially. You know, bloody scaffold is going to make millions of money, aren't they? You know, plasterers, all that kind of stuff, because AI can't touch that. But the truth is, they're bringing them in because it's easier to bring in cheap labour than it was to go into businesses, than it was to upskill the population. And we're on a doom spiral now. We are on a doom spiral, guys. Multiculturalism, it's failing. We know it's going to fail. It's not our strength, is it? When we talk about that, it's our strength. It's not. Diversity is not our strength. And this is why, of course, the military was so interested in pushing DEI and the health sector and education, because they were bringing in all these people and they had to employ them. But of course, you need more immigrants in the health sector because you've got more immigrants that need medical care. That's why. So it's failing. As I said, it's the feminization of work. So the reason I say don't speak about it, don't talk about Islam, don't talk about this stuff, is because it's almost slowing down the demise. And most men out there like me would say, Tim, I want it to happen now, because then we can start rebuilding. Now, I know it's irresponsible to say don't speak about it. And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, guys. Don't get me wrong. You understand that. I'm sure you do. And in the comments, hit me about what you think we should do. But when I talk about fitness, family, finance, fuel, and faith, I'm talking about training. I'm talking about having the spiritual well-being to have made peace in your world. So when that attacker comes through that train door with his knives and he's swinging, you can step up and you can say, like I said before, I don't want to swear on this channel. I'll swear one more time and I promise I'm not going to swear. Come the fuck on then, mate. Because I'm an Englishman. And you'll take that knife off him, and you might have to take it off and it's plunged in your chest. But that allows people to escape over your dead body. All right? You can sacrifice yourself for the good of the country. How can we do that? It comes from training. It comes from lifting, carrying weights, getting on a walk, training your family, just being a decent dude in the world. And here's another thing that pisses me off right now. All right? All those guys talking about, oh yeah, immigrants are criminals, immigrants. And yeah, Albanians, 200 out of 1,000 are arrested, whereas it's 12 per 1,000 for British. Yes, immigrants are a significant problem in this society. And you talk about it, and then you've got a coke habit, mate. And where do you think that coke's coming from? It's coming from immigrants. It's coming from white gangs, most definitely, but it's coming from Albanians. It's coming from, Egyptians. It's coming from all these people. And you talk a good game, but you're failing. You are failing as a man. That's what I'm saying to you. I've quit alcohol. I'm almost 3 years clear. Do you think that's been easy, mate? No, it's been absolutely shit. It's shit. Every day can be a struggle sometimes, but I'm doing it. Why? Because I don't want to be that weak man that talks a good game but doesn't live that game. That's why I do the work with my coaching clients. And they come to me and they say, I'm struggling, Tim. And I'm saying, well, I struggle too, mate. Let me help you out. That's what I do. All right? So what I'm saying is, you got to get training, all right? You got to get training, because one day you're going to have to confront that guy that's coming through that train carriage with knives. And you've got like girls behind you, mate. You've got like 15-year-old girls. There's some father's daughter on that train. And between you, the knifeman, and her, what are you going to do? Put her in front of you? What are you going to do? No, mate, you're going to storm into that dude and you're going to die. We've spoken about it before. You're going to die. Spiritual fitness. That's the important thing. Make peace with your family. If you want to turn into faith, that's fine. But when I talk about faith, fitness, family, finance, fuel, and faith, I'm talking about faith in the first four you've done. Fitness, family, finance, and fuel. That's the faith. The faith that you've done those first four means you could be on that train. You could deal with those threats. You know what I mean? It's an horrific thing that's happening. But we need to confront these people, these liberals. And we need to say, this racism accusation doesn't work anymore. You're a coward. You're guilty. You're guilty. The people who are allowing this, I don't care whether it was a Muslim, I don't care whether it was a black guy on the train, and apparently it was a black guy, they're saying that, but that could be anyone. It could, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. The fact is, it was allowed to be there by, I almost blame me, I blame you for not going hard enough on these people, not going hard enough on my mum and my sister and my uncle, who these lefties who are allowing this to come in. Tim, multiculturalism is great. You weren't on that train. You didn't put your child into the Taylor Swift dance party, did you? You didn't do that. No, you didn't. It hasn't affected you yet, but it will affect you. It will come to you. So train like that. Every single time. Remember when we were kids in the gym, it's like, oh, if I can't lift this, I'm gay. If I can't lift this, my whole family's going to die. We did that, yeah? Get back into it. Just go to that gym, mate. You haven't got to do much. Grab a sandbag, go for a walk. You know what I mean? Listen, guys, I appreciate your comments. You know I do. I'm sorry this video's run long. I wanted to really kind of try and get you to think about this. I appreciate it. Tim Davies, Fast Shit Performance.